In Consumer Corner, we take a look at trends and products creating a buzz here in China. On today's show, we're talking about another hubbub over infant dairy product safety. This time, it involves imports from New Zealand. Since 2008, domestic markets for infant milk powder have been absolutely dominated by foreign brands. The foreign invasion gained a foothold following a 2008 milk powder scandal in China. That year, 6 infants died and more than 300,000 were sickened after drinking Chinese milk powders that had been intentionally tainted with the industrial chemical melamine. The powder was added to boost the recorded protein levels of the product, but it ended up taking the lives of several infants and completely decimating the market for domestic milk powders. By 2012, expensive foreign brands occupied a full 70% of infant milk powder consumption in China. That's a staggering number, especially considering how much more expensive they are than domestic brands. But now, after years of fighting tooth and nail for access to foreign dairy products, Chinese mothers are once again living in fear of the milk powder fed to their children. This time, the alleged culprit is not domestic producers, but rather exports from New Zealand. Last Thursday, New Zealand's Ministry for Primary Industries said in a statement that, quote, very low levels of dicyandiamide, or DCD, was found in some of leading dairy company Fonterra Cooperative Group's products. A random sampling led to the discovery of the chemical in certain dairy products produced by the firm last September. Although there is no international standard for how much DCD can be allowed in food products, high doses of the substance are considered toxic to humans because it leads to the production of melamine. In response, 2 leading makers of agricultural chemicals announced that they would voluntarily suspend the sale and use of DCD for farmland. The Ministry of Primary Industries said the chemical had made its way into dairy products because of an attempt at environmentally friendly farming practices. DCD was applied to pastures in order to reduce greenhouse gases and the leaching of nitrate, an agricultural byproduct that can pollute waterways. New Zealand agricultural authorities immediately moved to reassure the markets that the country's dairy exports were safe. A spokesperson with the ministry told Xinhua that DCD had not affected the export of dairy products to China. She claimed that there was no food safety issue, and the actions taken by the agricultural chemical producers were a voluntary move to shore up confidence in the country's dairy markets. According to Chinese media reports, many experts confirmed that very low levels of DCD would not affect people's health. Kelvin Wickham, president of Fonterra Greater China in India, told Xinhua last Saturday that the very low levels discovered meant 100 times lower than safety limits established by the European Commission. Soon after the initial discovery, the New Zealand Ministry of Primary Industries published a statement on its website to offer reassurance about the safety of the country's dairy products. The Director General of the ministry wrote that the small amount of DCD residue would not pose a safety hazard because DCD itself is not poisonous. He stressed that there has been no use of DCD in New Zealand pastures since last September, and any dairy produced after that time is 100% DCD free. The ministry claimed only a, quote, very small amount of products might have been affected. DCD was applied on less than 5% of the country's dairy farms, and it only affected a small amount of dairy immediately following its twice-a-year application. But hypersensitive Chinese consumers have learned to be suspicious of all government assurances of quality and safety. In the aftermath of the New Zealand announcement, consumers have been urging the Chinese government to conduct tests for the chemicals on imported dairy products from New Zealand. Xinhua News reported that China's General Administration of Quality Supervision, Inspection and Quarantine has asked related departments in New Zealand to offer more details about the tainted dairy products. The potential fallout from the scare could have large consequences for both New Zealand and Chinese consumer markets. A Beijing-based newspaper cited Song Liang, a government dairy analyst, as saying that New Zealand milk products account for nearly 80% in China's import markets and 40% of the market for infant foods. In addition, as New Zealand milk powder is used as an input for 60% of world dairy manufacturers and suppliers, the scandal may put a dent in some of the big names in Chinese markets, such as Wyeth, Meiji, and Abbott. On the flip side, imported milk powders from countries like Australia, Denmark, France, and the Netherlands may stand to benefit from the scare. New Zealand's government and business community have been proactive in dealing with the issue because the stakes are very high for the entire country. Xinhua News reports that the $12.3 billion in dairy exports make up a quarter of total exports from New Zealand. That industry hasn't yet taken a hit, as dairy products from the country are still on sale throughout China. The China Daily spoke with a manager for the popular supermarket chain Jinkelong, who said the company hadn't received any official notice to remove products from its shelves. Chinese netizens have expressed their concerns about the safety of New Zealand dairy imports, with reactions ranging from the hysterical to those suspicious of the media play the scandal has received. One mother wrote, "We've completely run out of safe milk products for our kids. When giving my child milk from milk powder just now, I felt I was poisoning him. How can we deal with this? I've been feeding my baby with a New Zealand brand infant formula for some time. I still can't believe even New Zealand's dairy products were tainted. If the scandal is true, there's only one safe choice left: to raise a cow by oneself." That's pretty shrill, but it's been seconded by other posters as well. One commenter wrote, "As domestic milk powder became associated with food safety problems, consumers turned to foreign brands. But who could guess that imported milk powder products are also scandal-plagued? How poor is our next generation going to be if they come into contact with toxins from the moment they're born? It's hopeless." Another Weibo user sarcastically promoted the strength of Chinese immune systems in the face of scandal after scandal. Poster Dong Xiaojie wrote, "Why make such a fuss? Chinese people's immune systems are top-notch. We're invulnerable to all poisons." But domestic brands haven't been let completely off the hook by the new focus on New Zealand. In a survey on Sina.com, 60% of respondents said they believe domestic powders also contain DCD. Poster Rumushu wrote, "Just forget about it. How can DCD in New Zealand milk products be more poisonous than our homemade ones?" Other netizens saw devious motives behind the hype that the New Zealand mini scandal was getting. Poster Ruo Yin Qiangli wrote, "Why does it feel like DCD is now more of a big deal than melamine? Are domestic media just hyping up this thing to make it a big scandal? With Chinese moms disrupting markets the world over to get milk powder, there's always going to be a new scandal popping up with these products. Why? Because if everyone buys foreign brand milk powder, domestic brands will go out of business." The last comment hits an interesting theme on how domestic media deals with scandals involving foreign food safety. We've already seen some big hype and little forgiveness for possible safety issues involving KFC. But when we look at the progression of the 2008 melamine scandal in China and the current hoopla over New Zealand products, the difference is clear. The 2008 scandal took years of complaints, a whistleblower, and several deaths to finally make its way into the Chinese media. In New Zealand, it was the government that proactively detected and then publicly announced findings that don't even approach the international danger levels. We'll see if that straightforward approach can keep the reputation of the country's dairy products intact in China.